Each was born of its own accord. The National League, the first true association of professional baseball players. The American League, born to be a challenger. And for a century, they have been only on the game's largest stages. Now, with this pitch at the ballpark at Arlington, the final barrier has come crashing down. And now interleague play comes to Philadelphia. New matchups, new rivalries, new memories created by the pastime. The career one, Curt Schilling, came 3.5 years ago on this field against this team. Game 5 of the World Series, a complete game shutout masterpiece for Curt Schilling. Now he will face those same Toronto Blue Jays. For the first time in 3.5 years, it's the first interleague game ever at Veterans Stadium in the regular season. Phillies and Blue Jays are coming up next. And hi again, everybody, with Kent Tekulve. I'm Larry Rosen. Welcome to our own little slice of baseball history. First interleague game, Kent Tekulve, your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what, Larry, when I first heard the thought a few years ago about interleague play, I really wasn't too enthused about it. But, you know, as we've become closer to it, the players have got more excited. The fans are exactly so excited about it. So, you know, I've become enthused about it, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's ball game.
Well, one guy that you know is very enthusiastic is Curt Schilling. Schill is a big game kind of competitor and a guy that prides himself in his preparation. And there's been some very special preparation for these Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm excited about the fact that I'm going to be part of history, pitching the first interleague game and throwing the first pitch in interleague game history in Philadelphia. But you know, I'm anxious. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm nervous. I've been really trying to prepare myself mentally for this lineup. Watching, you know, I've watched ESPN a little bit harder this year with the American League East teams to try and get an idea of what these guys are and aren't doing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Curt said he would have loved to go against Roger Clemens, but it's not going to work out that way. It'll be Schilling against Woody Williams. Williams has been troubled by a lack of run support and some significant shoulder misery. So it's Schilling against Woody Williams, your starting pitcher. Stand by, everybody. The first interleague pitch in Philadelphia baseball history is coming up next. It'll be a magnificent evening for baseball to make a little bit of history at Veterans Stadium. It's interleague play 1997. They're the official interleague banner, which is adorning Veterans Stadium. As the Blue Jays are here for the first time since the World Series of 1993, with a lineup filled with a lot of former National Leaguers, including Otis Nixon, Orlando Merced, Joe Carter, all have NL experience, Ed Sprague, Carlos Delgado, Benito Santiago, Alex Gonzalez, one-time Pirate Carlos Garcia, all in front of pitcher Woody Williams, who will hit for the first time tonight.
Defensively, the Phillies this evening have Rico Brogna at first, Mickey Morandini at second, Kevin Stocker's the shortstop, Scott Rowland back in the lineup tonight at third. Greg Jeffries is in left. Former Blue Jay Rob Butler plays center field, Darren Daulton in right, Mike Lieberthal doing the catching, and on the mound, 30-year-old right-hander Curt Schilling. Curt's making his 15th start of the year for the Phillies, has an 8-5 record with a 2.99 earned run average. Curt leads the National League with 111 strikeouts, and Larry, he has been the horse for the Phillies all year long. He leads the staff in starts with 15, complete games with 3, innings pitched with 99 in the third, and of course leads the club with those 111 strikeouts. The opposing hitters in the National League are hitting just .228 against Curt. Curt won his last game in Pittsburgh when he beat the Pirates by a score of 3-2 last Sunday. In that game, he pitched 8 innings, gave up just 5 hits, 2 runs, a couple walks, and 11 strikeouts. That's the 5th time this year that he's gone 10-plus strikeouts, and Curt has had 10-plus strikeouts in 4 of his last 6 starts, so he has been on a roll.
And we are set for interleague baseball. Largely the brainchild of Phillies owner Bill Giles, who worked this process all the way through to this point. Otis Nixon, who spent much of his career in the National League, a familiar figure, will face Curt Schilling. And the first pitch is a strike call. The ball will stay in play, unlike last night where they retired the first ball at Texas. They will allow it to remain in play in Philadelphia as Schilling paints the outside corner, 0-2. NIXON is the American League leader in steals with 27. Now with well over 500 in his career. And Schill's got him 0-2. Half swing, he went. Call that a strikeout swinging for out number 1.
Take a look right here as Schilling takes NIXON down on 3 pitches. Fastballs all 3 away. A very weak check swing by NIXON on the 3rd one. What is NIXON? Not really sure he wanted to take a hack at that one. You know, Larry, was mentioned last night by a lot of the Texas Ranger hitters that they, the difference that they noticed between the National League and American League is the fact that National League hitters come out. American League hitters are notorious for being very patient, taking a lot of pitches. Seems to be the style of the American League. Wait the pitcher out. It may have something to do with the strike zone. Now, there's been conversation that the American League strike zone much smaller than the National League, especially on the width of the plate.
Orlando Merced swings through that on the outside corner. Merced, of course, a 6-year starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the National League, and has seen Schilling at least 18 times before. The 0-2 is a bit up and a bit away.
Well, the Blue Jays getting a lesson right here. If they think that American League pitchers are nibblers and pick around at the corners, they've got a lesson already. Schilling with 5 straight strikes and just misses with the 6th pitch. So coming right at the Blue Jays.
That's high and foul. It will reach the seats. Curt Schilling, you know he's a workhorse, but he leads the league in number of pitches thrown per start by plenty, and has thrown close to 130 on several occasions. Teague, that's indicative of a number of things, including how long he lasts in the ball game.
Well, obviously you have to pitch well to get deep into the ball game to throw that number of pitches, but also you have to be strong and be able to still be throwing the ball well late in the ball game to get those kind of numbers too and not be yanked out of there.
That's a weak swing tapper to Stocker for out number 2. See what kind of reception Joe Carter gets from the Philadelphia faithful.
Pretty similar to when he showed up at the All-Star game last year. Philly fans have not forgotten Joe Carter,
who of course ended the impossible dream in Game 6, 1993 with that home run off Mitch Williams. He's been in a horrific slump in the month of June. To right field and deep, slicing away from Dalton, in play off the base of the wall, and career hit number 1,997 for future Hall of Famer Joe Carter as he goes the other way on the first pitch.
Joe Carter wastes no time jumping on the first pitch by Schilling. He learned in a hurry that Schill's around the plate. Good fastball by Schill on the outside part. Carter just a little bit late, but as strong as Joe is, able to wedge it right down into that right field corner and get himself a double. Take a look at the ball as it lands right down by the bullpen, just low off the wall, and fortunately for Dutch, it hit that pad right there instead of the hard fence and kind of laid there on the ground for him to catch up to it.
So Carter's at second for Ed Sprague. That is fouled back near the press box. And just below it, Sprague is a product of this organization. Who had 36 home runs a year ago. By far a career high. Under the veteran skipper, Cito Gaston. Swing and a miss. Of course, these two teams are spring training near partners. Their fields are about 4 or 5 miles apart. The Blue Jays have faced the Phillies in the minor leagues more times than any other team in baseball, 83 overall. And the Phils hold a relatively decent advantage. That's just A games. We're not going to count B games in that total.
Yeah, and there's almost as many B games in Florida during spring training because of the proximity of the two ball clubs. very easy trip for the Phillies and the Blue Jays to organize one of those B games that you play at 10 o'clock in the morning and have everybody back in time to play the A game at 1 o'clock.
In fact, Schilling faced Woody Williams on May 3rd, the second game of spring training, to left field right at Jeffries. And Curt Schilling puts them down. So the Phils will bat against an American League starter when we come back in a moment. Curt Schilling got the Phils off to a good start, top of the first. Now bottom of the first, here's the Phillies lineup, led by former Blue Jay World Series champion Rob Butler, who's got a ring from '93. Mickey Morandini, Darren Daulton, Scott Rowland back in the lineup. The hand is fine. Rico Brogna, Greg Jeffries, Mike Lieberthal, Kevin Stocker, and Curt Schilling.
Defensively, the Blue Jays have Carlos Delgado at first, Carlos Garcia at second, Alex Gonzalez the shortstop, Ed Sprague at third. Joe Carter's in left, Otis Nixon in center, Orlando Merced's in right, former Philly Benito Santiago behind the plate, and on the mound 6 foot 190-pound right-hander Woody Williams.
You see Williams at 1 and 6. As Butler first pitch hacking.
Yeah, Woody's making his 12th start of the year, as you mentioned, 1 and 6 with a .461 earned run average. He's had a lot of shoulder problems, Larry, over the last couple of years, and actually missed half of last year after having rotator cuff surgery.
That's up.
This game today, he hasn't pitched for 11 days. His last start was on the 2nd of June against Seattle. Pitched just 5 2/3 innings in that ball game. Gave up 11 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. 4 of those 11 hits were long balls, and he's been shut down since then with another problem with his right shoulder. So Woody Williams is a guy that pitches well when he's healthy, but hasn't been able to stay healthy very long.
He and Butler know each other extremely well. In fact, they were roommates in Syracuse in the early part and middle part of 1993 before Butler got called up and wound up in the World Series. In fact, Butler was with Williams in late April of '93 when Williams' wife gave birth to their first child, and fittingly they face each other as the first American League pitcher to first National League batter in Philadelphia, and Butler skies it to straightaway center field. Nixon's got it out, number 1. Butler said Williams was in the early to mid-90s 5 years ago, but no more, Teague.
No, there's a NIXON scouting report on Woody Williams. His fastball down to about 87, 86 mile an hour right now. Also throws a curved slider and a split finger that he added last year. Because he's not an overpowering pitcher, it's location, location, location with Williams. If he throws too many balls in the middle of the plate, he's going to get in trouble. Also, he fields his position well, but has not been known to pay a whole lot of attention to base runners. Of course, American League style of baseball, there's not a whole lot of base running go on. It's a 3-run homer type league, so the Phillies may be able to take advantage of the fact that Williams does not pay a whole lot of attention to the base runners.
Now 1-1 to Mickey Morandini, who is the hottest Philly hitter, up to .311, and on a bit of a tear lately, 7 for his last 13. Making a serious push for an all-star bid. Strike call. It's 2-2. Off speed pitch, just wraps around the outside corner. The count is full. Williams has had all kinds of right shoulder miseries in the last 3 years, and generally has had a hard time pitching 3 or 4 starts in a row in the last 3 seasons, as that's fouled back, and has moved back and forth between the bullpen and the starting rotation. It's very difficult to have any kind of flow when you don't have yourself physically in sync, Teague.
Yeah, and Williams, as you mentioned, a couple of years ago, he was in the bullpen for about 2 years, and then last year they tried to move him in the starting rotation, coming off of shoulder surgery. He pitched for a little bit, he'd go on the disabled list, he'd pitched some more. He's been in the rotation all year this year, but still hasn't been able to get past those shoulder miseries.
Carter has it on the rim of the track for out number 2. He dropped it on the way in on the throw. So that's out number 2. Cito Gaston, the veteran manager in his 9th big league season, with a couple of world championship rings to call his own. And the guy that took the lineup card out for the Blue Jays did that 162 times or so on the other side.
Of course, Larry, you were talking about former Phillies manager Nick Leva, who just ran up the runway knowing that we were going to try to take a shot of him.
We did a lot of that in town. It's 0-1 to Dalton. That's outside. There's Nick Leva. He's trying to move Carlos Garcia to play Dutch a little bit more to pull. Dutch, of course, one of the holdovers from '93 to a man. The Phillies that we talked to, Dutch, Morandini, Stocker, Dykstra, all said '93 is ancient. You know, it's good for you guys to talk about, a lot of fun, but that's ancient history for a player. Just low.
Yeah, it's a normal situation, Larry, as you see Lenny Dykstra on the bench this evening watching the Phillies from the dugout, that, you know, once the season's over, whether it's a good one or a bad one, you have to turn the page and get ready for the next one. And, of course, '93 has been a few pages ago.
Defensive swing by Dalton to stay alive at 2-2. Obviously, the team that wins the World Series might be a little a little more likely to hold on to those.
Well, it's a little more fun to turn back to that page and take a look at it again when you win the World Series.
Dutch facing Woody Williams. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss on a good curveball. So Williams has a strong first inning. We've got one in the books. Scoreless. Phils and Blue Jays at the vet. Just to amplify how long ago 1993 was in terms of baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies, 94 to present, they remain with Daulton, Morandini, Schilling, and Stocker, with Rob Butler on their side, having been on the other side 4 years ago, and the record well under 500. But the Blue Jays also have not had a 500 season since the World Series, and they hold on to Joe Carter, Juan Guzman, Pat Henkin, Ed Sprague, and Mike Timlin. And I guess, Teak, that's just indicative of baseball anymore. 4 years is longer than the average football career overall, and in baseball it's getting more and more like that.
Yeah, and both these clubs, you know, about 20% of their roster remain just 4 years later off of, you know, successful ball clubs. So there is a lot of turnover in Major League Baseball.
One of the guys who came up with the notion of interleague baseball, Bill Giles, as Carlos Delgado stands in against Curt Schilling. Delgado, Teague, we've seen since the first spring that they had him in camp, now 7-8 years ago, finally paying off dividends, has some outstanding numbers.
Yeah, he does, and you know what they're trying to do with Delgado was find a position for him. When he first came up, he was playing the outfield, he was DHing. He came up originally as a catcher, couldn't play that position. Has finally kind of settled in at first base. So Delgado's bat was never the question. It's where you were going to put him in the lineup, or was he going to be a DH?
That's bounced up there.
Larry, I think early in this ballgame we ought to bring the fans up to speed on a couple things on interleague play, a couple of the things that come into play. Number one, the designated hitter. Designated hitter will go by ballpark. If you're in a National League ballpark, as we are tonight, there will be no designated hitter. You play by National League rules. When you move over to Boston next week, then we will have a designated hitter. The Phillies will use one in Boston. The other thing, umpiring crews. National League Park, you will have an all-National League umpiring crew. When you go to Boston now and we play in the American League Park, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you will have an all-American League umpiring crew. Those are the decisions that had to be made about how interleague play was going to be orchestrated. And you see our umpiring crew this evening: Jerry Crawford, Mark Hirschbeck, Ron Barnes, and Rich Rieker.
Called third strike to Delgado, and he'll make the hard left with a look back for Jerry Crawford. Strikeout number 2 is out number 1.
Take a look right here at the pitch by Schilling. Perfect location, down and away as Delgado takes it. Jerry Crawford brings it up. And Curt Schilling, 10 strikeouts plus per 9 innings, leads the National League in strikeouts, number 3 in strikeouts per 9.
That is his 113th strikeout of the season. Now facing the man who received many of those strikeouts a year ago, Benito Santiago.
Larry, while we're talking about umpires and the American League umpires in the American League Park, I think you're going to see a difference. Everybody that I've talked to says that the American League strike zone is the same height-wise. Belt to knees is basically the same in both leagues. Where the difference is National League umpires, as we've seen on a lot of occasions, have a tendency to expand the outside and inside corners a little bit, make the plate a little wider. American League umpires, I have been told, don't. That it's, you know, it's pretty legitimately 17 inches across. If you don't get it in that little box, therefore, American League hitters are obviously more patient. they don't swing as often. And we talked about the Rangers last night, talking about the National League guys swinging early in the count. American League hitters will take a lot of pitches, as we saw in this ball game. NIXON and Merced up there took the first 5 pitches, or well, NIXON had that one check swing, but not swinging the bat. If National League pitchers are aggressive, they may be able to get the jump on the American League hitters just because they're used to taking a lot of pitches with that smaller strike zone.
It's 1-2 on Santiago. Just to amplify your point, there have been 250 more walks overall in the American League than in the National League. Outside. Interestingly, there's been almost an identical number of intentional walks, and you'd think the National League would have many more because you're going to get to a bad pitching, bad hitter in the 9th spot, but not so statistically.
Yeah, that and the fact that you have a DH in the lineup, which you may intentionally walk on occasion. So yeah, the fact that the intentional walks are the same is a little bit surprising. The fact that with the smaller strike zone in the American League, the walks overall are up is not.
Terry Francona, Phillies first-year skipper. And he too has said he's gotten more and more excited as this day has approached. Some extra work for him and his staff getting ready, as that's fouled straight back. Santiago, of course, had that monstrous season a year ago. First Phillies catcher with 30 home runs, a career high in RBIs with 85, and got himself a $2.5 million contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. So he's gone from catching Curt Schilling to catching Roger Clemens. Off-speed pitch is a little bit up. Schilling wanted it. It's 3-2. There have been 185 more home runs in the American League than in the National League. Fastball away is hit deep, right field side, and shading foul as that's sliced all the way down the line and up that tunnel. There have been over 100 more stolen bases in the National League. So when you talk about things as like, oh, that's the 3-run home run league and this is the more aggressive league, the stats do, support that.
Yeah, it really does. The stats bear it out, and it's just a different style of play in the American League.
Another 3-2, got him looking, and Santiago backs toward the dugout, and it can show nothing but respect for Curt Schilling, who locked him up with the off-speed pitch.
Schilling goes to the 3-2 breaking ball here, and you'll see Santiago's knees just buckle as he cannot pull the trigger. See Santiago as he reacts to that. He's seen Schilling, got me.
A little moonwalk, and I'm out of here.
Looking for the splitter and got the big hook.
Bring up shortstop Alex Gonzalez. Gonzalez, a product of the Blue Jays farm system. A 14th round draft pick. Who has struck out over 100 times twice in his young career already, fouls that one back.
We were talking about the players already being excited about interleague play. Notice today, when the Phillies are taking batting practice, normally, 5 minutes before you're done, the other team comes out on the field and they're doing their stretching or whatever. Almost immediately upon the Phillies starting batting practice, a lot of the Blue Jay players were already in uniform out on the field. A lot of media down on the field, something you don't normally see. And it was almost like a postseason type atmosphere around the ballpark, not only from the media standpoint, but also from the player standpoint. They were excited about this. So I think the intention of interleague play and being able to play against different players and for the fans to see different players is coming to where everybody thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. Tap foul at the plate. It's 2-2. Schilling struck out Delgado looking, Santiago looking. If he goes 2-2 breaking ball here, he can strike out the side, all looking on Gonzalez. Looks like they might want a splitter. It is, and it's a swinging strike. So good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Curt Schilling, who strikes out the side in inning number 2. We're scoreless through 1.5. Would be up for this one, and Schill struck out the side of that second inning and showed the full repertoire.
Yeah, got the first 2 strikeouts on curveballs rather, and then gets Alex Gonzalez on the splitter. See that ball dipping down below the strike zone. That was the one that Santiago was looking for when he took the curveball. Benito, of course, had called a lot of those two-strike splitters last year. Was expecting to get one himself and didn't.
Here's Scott Rowland back in the lineup after a couple of days off, so he continues his streak of playing every game this season at a bruised back of the hand in non-medical terms. Scotty's got the club lead now in RBIs with 34. To right field and shallow. Merced has it lined up. Out number 1. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Phillies and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Phillies. Here's Rico Brogna batting in the 5 spot. Rico among the league leaders in doubles with 19. Had a difficult time first fortnight of June. That's away.
Larry, we'd like to pass along some happy birthday wishes to Walter Royak of Bristol, PA, celebrating his 68th birthday today. Also, Emma Saganik of Upper Black Eddy, Pennsylvania, celebrating her 80th.
Got in on his hands. He fouled it to the upper deck.
And this is my favorite right here, Larry. Clark Blair of Villants, New Jersey, is celebrating, as he puts it, the 30th anniversary of his 55th birthday. So if you can't do the quick math, happy 85th birthday to Clark.
There you go. It's 2-1 on Brogna. We had an anniversary greeting a couple of weeks ago where they were celebrating 45 years of wedded bliss. They've been married 50, but only 45 of them were blissful. I thought that was a good one.
Well, we've been there. Sometimes you have a bad day.
Up the middle, but defended well by Gonzalez. Out number 2. So Alex had him shaded that way, and a routine play. By the way, Philadelphia's made a couple of roster moves. Rex Hudler had the arthroscopic surgery on the knee. He's DL'd retroactive to June the 9th, and Ken Ryan's had all kinds of trouble, and he is indeed on the disabled list. Kevin Sefcik, as we told you a couple of nights ago, is back as your utility infielder. There's Kevin, who's been hitting well at Scranton, and for the first time in a big league uniform, Wayne Gomes has arrived to join the Phillies bullpen. Up and into Jeffries.
Yeah, Larry, the injury for Ken Ryan cropped up again the other day. It's that same ligament in his elbow. He's got inflammation in the ligament again. It's bothering him, so they decided to put him back on the disabled list. Nobody knows right now how long it's going to be for Kenny Ryan until he gets his arm back in shape.
He'll go it alone. And the Phils go in turn in the second. The pitchers holding serve in the early going. Tomorrow and Sunday here at Veterans Stadium. Toronto Blue Jays are in town. Sunday is Toyota Men's Interleague Cap Day for Father's Day. That's a terrific item. You can order your tickets 463-1000. Stop by the Veterans Stadium ticket office. And fans receive tonight the Interleague Play Memorial poster. That is available again tomorrow. So a nice collector's keepsake. You can join us at the Vet tomorrow evening. Top 3 were scoreless. Joe Carter has the only hit as Carlos Garcia, that one-time Pirate. Fouls one the other way. Garcia's had a very tough time offensively. And it has given Juan Samuel, a Blue Jay now, an opportunity to get some additional playing time. As late in ball games, Sami has hit for Garcia and even played a little second base this year.
See Garcia slashing those first 2 balls down the right field side. That's what we've seen a lot of him. See Sammy in the dugout looking on. Carlos Garcia, a notorious inside-out hitter, likes to slash the ball the other way. Remember that from his years with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
In the dirt. Garcia actually was an all-star as a Pirate. As you see, the predominant hits to center and right field. Garcia, an all-star back in 1994 while a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Take a look at the Phillies in the outfield, and you see how the outfield is shaded around toward right field with Rob Butler well over toward right center field.
Garcia and Merced, along with Dan Plesac, in that huge trade with the Pirates back in November. Up the middle, Morandini will charge, plant, and throw out number 1. And that brings us to one of my favorite subjects for you, Teak. American League pitchers hitting off Curt Schilling. Woody Williams in his first professional at-bat.
And I would be willing to bet that Cito Gaston's whole desire of this at-bat is that Williams gets back to the dugout healthy.
Well, Terry Francona was saying that that's one of the advantages that his club should have, especially with a guy like Schill who handles the bat so well. Smoked down to the Phillies dugout.
Heads up.
And Ricky Otero, who lives in that far corner.
And you see Mark Parent, the veteran, he understands what's going on. He's got the glove on his hand.
That way. That is about 4 or 5 feet to the right of our first base camera position, in that little corner where Otero always hangs out when he's not playing. And he got a very quick wake-up call from Woody Williams.
Just swing, can't go wrong, man. Swing early.
Swing early. The advice from the dugout. That's outside.
Ain't got time to swing.
Of course, we joke about it, Larry, but it is a major disadvantage for the American League clubs. Number one, their pitchers have to hit, and they're not used to it at all. Plus, it takes a bat out of the lineup that they're used to having. In this case, with the Blue Jays, it's Ruben Sierra. Williams goes down swinging as expected, but looks like he's healthy on the way back, so Cito's probably happy.
It's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, way high, way outside.
And way late by Williams.
And the quick spin. Schill now, that is up to date. 116 strikeouts to lead the National League and counting.
And 5 of them tonight in the first 2 2/3 innings.
The Major League leader, Randy Johnson, has 120. And that is certainly within reach. Here's Otis Nixon. Even with 2 outs and nobody on, Scott Rowland creeping as Nixon's made a livelihood playing pepper past the third baseman. There he shows it. Lieberthal picked it up early, and is good recognition by Mike Lieberthal. And the Phillies able to put him down in turn. We're through 2.5 scoreless innings at the vet. Phils and Blue Jays in our first interleague adventure. Mike Lieberthal, with a half smile on his face, stands in against Woody Williams. Lieberthal still the club leader with 9 home runs. And Williams has had 6 up and 6 down. Outside corner strike call. Williams on the radar gun, Teak, right around 86, 87. That last pitch is quickest at 88 miles an hour.
Now, we talked about the shoulder injuries that Williams has had over the years. It has robbed him of about 5 miles an hour on his velocity, as you mentioned. Now, that one there at 89, so he got that one up there pretty good. But Rob Butler said he used to be in that 91, 92 mile an hour range. So, he has lost some of his velocity due to the shoulder injuries.
Now 30 years of age, as Lieberthal on the hole 1 and 2. That will reach the upper deck. Terrific crowd on hand tonight, with a very considerable walk-up once that weather broke mid-afternoon. And the 2 teams with the lowest team batting averages in baseball meeting here. The offenses have yet to really get on track. Outside.
Our hitters will always tell you, talk about the way the pitchers have been controlled so far. They don't like to hit against guys they haven't seen before. Very few guys, if any. Well, Rob Butler probably has seen Williams pitch. I don't know if he's hit against him, but they have very few of the Phillies hitters have actually gone to the plate and experienced what Woody Williams brings to the party.
Well, we went and looked up Williams' start on May the 3rd. That's the second game of spring training. He set down the first 11 Phillies, then Greg Jeffries got a base hit, and then he came out of the ball game. Jeffries didn't remember. We were talking about it before that. Do you remember the base hit he got on March 3rd? He gave me a look. Long drive to left field. Home run distance, fair or foul? That's foul. Oh, that got upper deck. But about 15 feet foul.
Take a look. Williams leaves his pitch on the inside part of the plate, and Levy gets full extension, just a little bit too much hook on it as he hits it right into the first row of the upper deck. As you mentioned, 15 feet foul, though.
Strike 3 as Santiago frames that outside corner. He's among the best in the business at that. And Benito bought a strike 3. Speaking of strikeouts, how about Roger Clemens, who just by the luck of the draw will not be pitching in Philadelphia, but will be likely starting the All-Star game. Got his first loss in his last start, but 93 strikeouts in 97.2 innings. We sat down, had a lengthy interview with Roger pregame tonight that will be part of our Prism presentation tomorrow. Beautiful bunt by Stocker. Put it in your pocket, Sprague, base hit. First for the Phillies.
Stocker takes a peek down to third base and sees that Sprague is playing him back, so he takes a shot and lays down a perfect bunt right along the third base line. Not even a chance for Sprague to make a throw to first bases. Stocker gets himself on base and in position to allow the National League pitcher, who is used to doing this, Curt Schilling, to take a crack at bunting him along.
Wouldn't be surprised if they took a crack at letting him hit and run or something. He's going to do it, and it's fouled off. There was a little kidding going on earlier today. That Schilling can handle the bat a little bit, and Terry said, I might just turn him loose.
I gave him the green light right there. Schilling showed bunt and had both Sprague and Delgado halfway to home plate as he took a hack at the ball. That's the idea of that play. Get the infielders moving and then try to slash one through.
Well, Williams will check over and see if Schilling commits. Schill looking down at Vukovic, hoping for that swing away side. Now they want to converse face to face. Schill hitting 161. And is very aware of the cameras. You notice he always puts that hand up over his mouth for the lip readers among us. Just in case.
Usually the conversation on the mound, he puts the whole glove up.
The glove goes up, yeah. High pitch. Schilling pulls back. It's 1-1. Here's our first example of the strategic differences. Whereas Woody Williams went out swinging on a pitch a foot or so high and outside, Terry Francona's got Schilling in a position where he can really have some choices and help himself. Down the bunt, push bunt. Got it past the pitcher, but Sprague read and reacted. So it goes down as a successful sacrifice. But I think Schill was trying to kind of push that up the middle, T.
Yeah, it appears as if Schilling was trying to put the ball between Williams, try to hit it hard between Williams and Sprague. Didn't quite get all of it as it one hops to Ed Sprague, the third baseman. And you're exactly right. Schilling was trying to do more than just a sacrifice bunt. He was trying to push the ball out to shortstop, the vacated spot. Gonzalez had already moved over to cover second base to try to get the force on Stocker. So Curt was trying to add just a little pizzazz to that sacrifice bunt, try to push it through and get himself on board. But even though he didn't get that job done, he did get himself, or he did get Kevin Stocker, I should say, down in scoring position, where that's really the big idea of the whole play anyways, make sure the Stocker's in scoring position for Butler.
A lot of talk about American League managers and facing these kind of things for the first time as Rob Butler stands in with Stocker on second base. I know you spent a good deal of time pregame with Cito Gaston, and he was kind of playing down the differences, ball's ball and all that stuff.
Yeah, he was playing it down, but he says, you know, I keep telling all these guys, all the reporters, that, you know, the double switch is no problem. He says, I hope I don't mess it up. Not a whole lot of double switches in the American League. You don't have the pitcher in the lineup.
Fouled up. by Butler, so it's 0-2. Butler's been very productive, especially with runners in scoring position. Rob has the '93 World Series ring from being a part of the Blue Jays team, but doesn't wear it. He says it has a high-profile place on the mantle at home, and it's probably a good spot for it. The 0-2 to center field, and NIXON with plenty of time. So the Phillies get their first runner in scoring position, but are held off the board. We're scoreless through 3. It was October 21st, 1993. The Phils were in a hole, down 3-1 in the World Series, when Curt Schilling took the mound at Veterans Stadium. The strikeout of Devon White, and Schill would be absolutely letter perfect. Ground ball 4, 6-3 double play. And Schilling, who held them to 5 singles, would get Paul Molitor on this line drive to right center field, and Schilling would send the Phils back to Skydome with a smile on his face and the hug for then catcher, now right fielder Darren Daulton. This, of course, the next start against the Blue Jays. First interleague game, and Schilling has held the Jays to a scratch double by Carter, has struck out 5 through 3. Here's Orlando Merced. Mentioned before that 5 of the starters for Toronto have National League experience. The other 4 all come out of the farm system, including Woody Williams. So who's the advantage to which team? Familiarity for the pitcher, the hitter? How do you view that one?
Well, I think in this case, the advantage goes to Curt Schilling, because he's got 4 of the 8 offensive players in the lineup that he's familiar with. He has an idea of how he wants to pitch to him, what he wants to do. A good pitcher has an advantage over good hitters when he has the experience. Of course, a weaker pitcher probably has a disadvantage when the hitters know a little bit more about him. But in this case with Curt Schilling, I think it works to his advantage.
Up the middle and through for a base hit for Merced. So he is a leadoff base runner on the tapper over the head of Schilling.
Merced grounded out the shortstop first time. It bounces this one right up over Schilling's head off the turf into center field. So Orlando Merced with the second hit of the ball game for the Toronto Blue Jays. Rob Butler playing center field for the Phillies this evening, and probably a couple reasons for it. Number one, he's swinging a hot bat and he hits in the leadoff spot. That's good, but more than anybody else, Butler is familiar with these Toronto Blue Jays hitters, and he's the captain of the outfield, being the center fielder. So his experience and having an idea of what the tendencies are of the Blue Jays hitters should come into play, as Jefferies and Daulton can kind of play off of Butler's positioning in the outfield.
Joe Carter doubled the other way.
In this case, Carter, of course, everybody in the world knows that Carter's a pull hitter, so Butler shaded over that way, and Jefferies and Daulton, on the hitters that they're not familiar with, can look at Butler and say, okay, he must have a tendency to hit it this way, we'll shade this way.
You see Butler, the slight shade, and Daulton, the rim of the warning track nearly in right field. Carter with something in his eye. Carter came in just 4 for 36 in the month of June. That's 111. Saw Veterans Stadium and immediately banged one off the wall for career hit 1997. And with 9 100 RBI seasons and 11 years of 20 or more home runs, Joe Carter has built a wonderful resume for Cooperstown. Statistically, the most impressive one is the RBI total with 1311. Very few have gone that high and have not gone to the Hall of Fame. The home run total, well, this year he has passed Yogi Berra and Joe DiMaggio on the all-time home run list. He's now 40th. That's a couple of impressive names to get past.
Yeah, and they're impressive numbers, RBIs and home runs, but also the consistency of Joe Carter. You mentioned 9 times over 100 RBIs in his career. Something you just don't normally see a guy have that kind of a run. Of course, the active home run leaders, only Eddie Murray, who has played forever, has more home runs than Joe Carter among active players.
That'll go foul the other way, and it holds at 2-2. Carter was the second player selected in the June draft all the way back in 1981, or the year after Darren Daulton was drafted in 1980. And he was drafted by the Cubs of Chicago. In the dirt. Made it to Chicago very briefly at the end of the '83 season, and then was traded largely for Rick Sutcliffe in '84, and began that long run of 100 RBI seasons in Cleveland, a year in San Diego in '90, and Toronto ever since. Long drive, nope, misread that one off the bat, as it will hang for Jeffries. Carter got under it. Out number one. Thought he got a little bit more of that. Schilling has not run a lot of deep counts in the early going.
See, just 54 pitches so far for Curt. Only 15 balls, and here we are in the fourth inning already. So Curt Schilling has been around the plate, and if if American League hitters think that they're going to sit around and wait on Curt Schilling, they got another thing coming. You better swing the bat. He's coming at you.
It's Sprague to right center field, open spaces. Butler can't run it down. That will not make it out of the ballpark for the ground rule. Morandini's got a shot at home plate. The throw is a little bit up the line, and the first run scores by Merced on the RBI gap double by Ed Sprague.
Blue Jay hitters are kind of getting the idea that Schilling's going to be around the plate early. This is a fastball that's just right down the middle. Sprague lines it into right center field. Kind of hoping that that ball was going to kangaroo up over the fence. It would have been a ground rule double, which would have made Merced stay at third. But when it stays in the ballpark, Orlando able to come all the way around and score standing up.
For Sprague, RBI number 28.
First RBI for Toronto in interleague play. The first run scored by Orlando Merced. That will be part of Toronto Blue Jay history from now on, and probably the answer to many a trivia question, many a tavern up in Toronto from years and years from now.
One out for Carlos Delgado, the club leader in home runs and RBIs, with a dozen home runs, 32 RBIs. Blue Jays are the #1 American League club in fielding percentage, #3 in earned run average, but last in batting average and runs scored. And you put all those facts together, you get a 500 club, I guess, which is just what they are. Off speed pitch away. So the first inning that Curt Schilling's been in any kind of trouble. A run in, a runner in scoring position with one out. And 2-1 on Carlos Delgado. Swing and a miss. Delgado was the most valuable player of Florida State League in '92, most valuable player Southern League AA in '93, skipped AAA and came on up to the majors, and then bounced back and forth before really establishing himself a year ago. Just missed. So his overall average at .309, his average with runners in scoring position just slightly under it. He's got one, Ed Sprague, at second base, and a 3-2 pitch coming from Curt Schilling. Whoa, the bat goes right at Mickey Morandini's legs. On strikeout number 6, and I guess that would be K swinging.
Take a look right here as Delgado tries to hold his swing up on the splitter as it dives down and away from him. A real good carry on the bat, though, as it slips out of his hand out toward Morandini at second base. Mick decided not to play it on the short hop, but let it roll just a little bit. Send it back into the bat boy. Pretty good decision.
Come on, get him in here.
So Benito Santiago, who struck out on a knee-knocking curveball in the second inning. First pitch swinging, fouls it back. This is a great mental matchup, I guess, when you have your former catcher batting off you in this kind of a spot. And like you said, Schill went off the conventional logic to get him out.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a funny matchup in the fact that for years, or at least last year, you're trying to be on the same page with this guy. You always felt good when you were on the same page. Now you want to get on different pages. You want to be thinking a little different pattern than Santiago is. Schilling won the first battle with that 3-2 hook.
Shows him the fastball off the plate, and now Lieberthal and Schilling will have a conversation on the mound. First base is open with Alex Gonzalez waiting on deck. And they just want to make sure they're thinking alike, this pitcher and this catcher, and not worrying about last year's catcher.
Well, remember last year at the end of the season, Curt Schilling very vocal in his support of Benito Santiago when the decision was being made whether to keep him or to let him go and move Lieberthal into that everyday starting spot. And I think Curt felt a loyalty to Santiago because they had worked so well together over the course of the season, and voiced his opinion, which is nothing wrong with that.
Fastball fouled back.
But also in Curt's credit, once the move was made, once the deal was done, and it was determined that Lieberthal was going to be his catcher for 1997, was completely behind Lieby and supported him, and said, I don't have any problems with pitching to Lieberthal. I like pitching to Santiago. We got along well, but that doesn't mean that I can't pitch to somebody else. Obviously, he and Lieberthal haven't worked too bad either.
See where they go, 1-2. Splitter is popped foul. Lieberthal near the dugout, out of room. Wasn't getting a lot of support and guidance in front of the Blue Jays dugout, as you might expect, but does get his mask handed back to him by fellow catcher Benito Santiago. So they went Splitter 1-2, and Benny got way under it. Santiago, a four-time starting catcher for the National League in the All-Star game, most recently back in '92. Tires of waiting as I want to go through the signs one more time. Like you said, Lieberthal's not calling the game, he's suggesting the game. Suggests fastball away, and Schill takes a couple of strides toward the home team dugout, but did not get the call from Crawford.
Come on, Benny.
Schill doesn't really shake a guy off, he'll just kind of stand there and you get the message.
Yeah, just kind of wait until, well, maybe he doesn't want that one, let me change it here. Which is not all that bad. A lot of times hitters are guessing along with pitchers, and if you shake your head, you know that there's a change of signs.
Now full.
So instead of letting them know that you change signs, you just stare in there and wait for the sign to change. Just a little part of the mental gymnastics that go on between pitchers and hitters are trying to figure out what the pitcher's going to do, or see if he has a tendency to throw a certain pitch in a certain situation. Sometimes you'll shake off before you ever get a sign, just to make him think that you are changing your mind.
That's a Tekulve trick. Fastball up, swing and a miss. You're watching Phillies baseball on Sports Channel. 97-mile-an-hour fastball from Curt Schilling, and Santiago couldn't lay off. At 7-11 last night, the first interleague pitch ever. Darrell Hamilton took it. There it was, first pitch from Darren Oliver, and 3 pitches later, Hamilton his own little slice of history as he got the first interleague base hit, the single to right. Bottom of the second, first interleague run, courtesy of Billy Ripken, who scored Damon Buford with the first run, the first interleague home run off the bat of Stan Javier. who spent a little time in Philadelphia. By the way, the first game was won by the National League. The other 4 won by the American on our interleague scoreboard. The first interleague argument was Dusty Baker complaining to American League umpire about a fair foul ball hit by Jose Vizcaíno. As you see, all those very strange matchups indeed on our scoreboard.
And our scoreboards at Veterans Stadium. In the right field, we have the American League scores. In the left field is the National League scoreboard. Normally, that's the way the scores are posted. Well, today, of course, we have interleague games on both boards. So a little confusing for the scoreboard operators here at Veterans Stadiums. They try to keep the fans here appraised of all the action around Major League Baseball, but you can't divide it by leagues tonight. No.
Top 5. Blue Jays on top 1-0 as Alex Gonzalez steps in. You saw maybe on the pan across the scoreboard, Norwich and Reading are tied at 3 in AA baseball. That is the 4th rehab start for Mike Grace as he tries to work his way back. We'll try to get you an updated complete line on him. There you see it. And the Scranton game is just in the 2nd inning of play right now, still scoreless. Scott Ruffcorn is pitching for Scranton tonight. Ground ball right side. Brogna will take Schilling's help. Schilling takes such a perfect pathway to first base as he lines himself up for Brogna for out number 1. A great white t-shirt with dynamic fills and tour logos on the front and back for fans 14 and under. Compliments of Mellon PSFs. That comes your way against the premier NL team from Atlanta. A great gift item for youngsters. Sunday, June 22nd at 1:35. Come on out as a family. Good seat locations remaining. 215-463-1000 or stop by the Center City ticket office at Mellon PSFs, Broad and Chestnut. Carlos Garcia. Hit a tapper to Morandini in his first at-bat. Again, a late swing foul.
Or you were just mentioning, that being when the Braves are in town. It'd be interesting. We talked about the strike zone and how the American League strike zone is a little narrower. Guys like Maddox and Glavine, it'll be interesting to see when they pitch in American League parks with American League umpires where, they're so good at expanding that strike zone over the course of the game, if indeed that will be a problem for them, not getting those pitches just off the edges like they do in the National League.
Now, there used to be a little difference in positioning by that home plate umpire, which may have led to some of those things, but not so anymore.
No, it used to be the American League umpires wore the balloon chest protector on the outside and worked directly over the top of the catcher, which raised their head up a little bit higher. But now the American League umpires also have gone to the inside chest protector and work over the catcher's shoulder. So the positioning of the umpire is pretty much similar now, National League and American League, although the American League umpires are refuted to have a narrower strike zone than the National League.
It's 2-2 on Garcia. Ripped to left. Short hops the wall and bounds away from Jeffries, so Garcia will have a stand-up double. He's in scoring position with 1 out for pitcher Woody Williams.
Talked the first time around how Garcia likes to hit a lot of balls the opposite way. Gets a pitch here down and in and just opens his hips up and able to fire it down the left field line. Jeffries well over in left center field, had no chance as this ball short hops the wall in left field. So Garcia able to pull the ball against the Philly defense that was shifted around the other way and get himself a double.
His 10th of the season. And Woody Williams, all those hours of practicing the sacrifice, he's swinging away. That's down and away. Thought I had that one wired. Nick Leyva coaching at third base. Keeping an eye on Kevin Stocker behind Garcia. Swinging.
Well, with 1 out, Larry, there's really not a whole lot of benefit for the Toronto Blue Jays to bunt Garcia over to third base. If he's there with 2 outs, it's still going to take a base hit to score him. Garcia with good speed will be able to score from second base on a base hit anyway. So Cito Gaston allows Williams to swing away, even though he is very inexperienced at doing so.
Schilling's fastball clocked at 95 miles per hour. He has been in the mid-90s through most of the night. And also is fouled on the late swing as Kevin Stocker was sneaking behind Garcia just as Schill pitched. There was a significant opening on the left side, but I guess you don't really expect Williams to pull a 94-mile-an-hour Schilling fastball.
Yeah, you can gamble a little bit right now on the left side of the infield because Williams has shown no inclination to be able to get the bat out in front and pull the ball.
Otis Nixon waits on deck.
In fact, Rob Butler shaded well over into right center field for the Phillies.
That is blooped. Darren Daulton has to take it on a short hop and kind of got caught in between as Garcia was coming back as if to tag up. By the time Daulton came up with it, Garcia was on his way to third. And Woody Williams, in just his second at-bat, has his first major league hit.
Take a look as Daulton comes in and gets the ball just on the short hop. You mentioned Garcia was kind of caught in between. Take a look at Garcia right here. He sees the ball come off of Williams' bat, kind of in shock in the first place. Is he going to catch it? No, he's not going to catch it. Okay, well, I better hurry up and get the third base in. I'd hate to get thrown out from right field on a single.
The ball has been sent back into the dugout.
The first major league hit and possibly the last of Woody Williams. Probably won't get too many opportunities at the plate. But give Williams credit. He got his bat on the ball, got it in play. You always talk about pitchers. You know, the most important thing is just get your bat on the ball, give yourself a chance. Williams did and got himself a single to right.
And now Otis Nixon bats. Runners on the corners. Williams will not wear the jacket on this warm evening in Philadelphia. Bronya about 2 steps off the bag, trying to play in front of Williams. Rolling well up at third as Nixon takes high. Defensively, Morandini and Stocker are squeezing up the middle and playing it about halfway. You see their positioning. Roland and Bronya are up. That's a strike call.
Otis Nixon with a lot of speed, Larry. You know, you would expect that he would be tough to double. That he is second on the club only to Joe Carter and grounded into double plays. He's grounded into 5 double plays so far this year.
Outside, 2-1.
And of those 5, 3 have come as a left-handed hitter, where he is even closer to first base than he is when he hits from the right side.
Do you think Bronya or Roland go home if possible here?
Well, I think you check home first to see if he's going. If indeed Garcia is going, you take a shot at him, because especially if the ball is not really sharply hit. Nixon's been around the National League for a long time, so the Phillies are aware of the fact that he has the good speed. So if you've got a chance, especially on a ball that's chopped or not very sharply hit, you may take a shot at home plate.
He's done his job in this spot through the course of the season, and he's got one at third base right now. Carlos Garcia. 2-2 pitch. Did he? Well, Jerry Crawford flinched on that, and Schilling's asking where it was. Did you see Crawford flinch a little bit?
Take a look right here as Nixon almost pulled the trigger, called out the first time around on a check swing, able to hold up this time.
Crawford started up. Full count. Bronya moves behind Williams at first. Roland goes back a couple of steps. Slap to left. Jeffries in good position. Sets and throws to the plate. The throw's on line and a little late. Jeffries didn't really get himself square as he had to wait for that ball to get to him, and his throw a little bit late. So give a sacrifice fly RBI to Otis Nixon.
Nixon lines his ball to left field. Jeffries thinks he's in position to charge the ball as he catches it, but it carries just a little further than he anticipated. Therefore, he was on his heels as he caught the ball and wasn't able to get a whole lot of momentum behind the throw. That little bit of difference just gives Merced enough time to get across the plate ahead of the throw.
Jeffries had a game-saving throw out at home plate a couple of homestands ago, where he stood behind the ball and waited, caught it on the crow hop, and then planted it through. That more of a line drive, and he was unable to really get himself set.
Yeah, he didn't have as much time as you would on a high fly ball, and also the fact that the ball just took off on him a little bit more. He thought he had it lined up where the ball was going to sink and he would be able to charge it and make a good strong throw, but the ball hung up in the air just a little longer than Greg thought.
So Merced with 2 outs and Williams on first. Rico Brogna doing all kinds of gyrations at first base. Watch, he's playing behind Williams and inside him, so he's between Williams and the bag. But as Schilling stretches, he will roll all the way to the first base hole. See him moving all the way? And he gets about a third of the way between first and second. That's a lot of ground for a first baseman to cover while the pitch is being delivered.
Well, the Phillies defensively are playing Merced pretty much straight away, so there's a big hole between first and second. What Brogna's trying to do is get himself in position to cut down some of that hole. Obviously, they would not be guarding the line against Merced, so he's trying to cut off that hole as much as he possibly can.
That's low. It's 3-1. And the first time Woody Williams has been on base as a professional. So you don't figure he's going anyplace. Brogna trying to show respect and then get to the right spot. Swing and a miss. Merced obviously not a dead pull hitter. Now with 3 balls, 2 strikes and 2 outs, and Williams will be on the move on the pitch. Rico goes back to his more conventional position. Slap the other way. And Williams will have to walk the 90 feet back and crank it up again. Schilling's allowed 5 hits, the exact number he allowed in Game 5 of the '93 World Series when he shut out these Blue Jays by a score of 2-0. He finds himself down 2-0, top 5. They're going to check for the swing. They will not. That'll be ball 4 to Merced.
Take a look at the pitch right here as the ball just off the outside corner. Merced checks his swing. Asked for the appeal down to third base to Rich Rieker. Merced did hold up the swing.
And a man who was the Toronto Blue Jays pitching coach for 5 years from '90 to '95, Galen Cisco, out to talk to Curt Schilling. He's got Joe Carter here and no action in the Phillies bullpen. So as a 2-0 ball game, she'll allow single runs in the 4th and the 5th in bear down mode against Joe Carter.
Well, that conversation is taking place on the mound. Woody Williams over talking to Nick Leyva, his third base coach. Obviously, Williams goes, okay, now I've never been to first and I've never been to second. What happens if he hits it? What do I do? Leyva's advice very simple: run like crazy.
Make a left.
If I'm winding my arm, keep going. If my hands are up, stop.
And the boos cascade for Joe Carter once more. That's just good-natured kind of Philadelphia fun. Carter 1 for 2 with a double. Check swing. Fouled back. Fastball at 94 miles an hour by Curt Schilling. There are your runners. The pitcher Williams at second, Merced at first. Outside. It's where Carter struggled with men in scoring position. He does have 31 RBIs. Lieberthal sets up away. The pitch is right there, and it's tapped to Stocker. The stock option says first base for out number 3. You're watching Phillies baseball on Sports Channel. Blue Jays add a run. Top of the 5th. Phil's bat home 5th, trailing 2-0. So Woody Williams, who's had those shoulder miseries, being checked over by the trainer and by his pitching coach, but came off the field to a warm reception from his teammates after throwing 5 1/3 of thus far shutout baseball. There is his line. He is responsible for the 2 runners on base. And interestingly, T. Gaston has made the move to Spoljaric to turn Greg Jefferies around and make him bat right-handed.
Yeah, Jefferies a switch hitter, and then the right-hander Mike Lieberthal, the next 2 hitters. Jefferies will swing from the right side. Spoljaric's a hard thrower. He throws 93 mile an hour. He has a big sweeping curveball and a slider. He's actually, Larry, more effective against right-handers and left-handers because he likes to pitch into right-handed hitters. He's had more success over the course of his career against right-handers than he does left-handers. So, possibly that weighed into Gaston's decision to bring him in at this point, turn Jefferies around to the right side, and then also with the right-handed hitting Lieberthal hitting behind him. So he's got Spoljaric. You would normally think trying to get the left-left matchup, but possibly this time Gaston trying to get the left-right matchup.
Spoljaric's been outstanding lately. Has allowed just 1 run in his last 9 games over 13+ innings, and nothing in his last 6 in a big spot. Facing Jefferies. First pitch swinging, base hit right field. Roland will score. Brunya, who's kind of gimpy on that leg, will hold at second, but Greg Jefferies plates the first run for Philadelphia. First pitch swinging. Line shot the other way.
Yeah, Jefferies not waiting at all, and Spoljaric sees the first fastball come in there and just slashes it into right field, up and on the inside part, just like we talked about. Tried to get in on Jefferies, but Greg with a nice job of inside outing the ball as he gets Scott Rowland home with the first run of the ball game. Phillies now with runners at second and first. Brunya at second. Jefferies, who just drove the run in at first. 2-1 ball game. Phillies looking for more.
RBI number 21 for Jefferies. Phil's down 1, and action in the Phillies bullpen. Lieberthal swinging a miss as he went for the downs. Like hit 2 balls out, just foul in each of his at-bats. One to the upper deck, one to the lower deck against Williams, now facing the left-hander Spoljaric.
And no backup action at all in the Blue Jays bullpen, as it is quiet down there with Spoljaric in the ballgame.
That's up the middle. Great stop. 1 there. Safe at first as Lieberthal hustles it out, and Garcia had a little bit of a hesitation getting it out of his glove. Terrific range, Gonzalez, to get the runner at second, but the inning is still alive for Kevin Stocker.
Yeah, great play by Gonzalez as he's well behind the bag, flips the ball to Garcia at second. Lieberthal just able to beat it at first base, or at least so says first base umpire Mark Hirschbeck on a very close play. That was real close. But Lieberthal called safe at first base, so the Phillies still alive with runners on the corner, but an outstanding play by Alex Gonzalez as he went well behind the bag to make that play.
So Kevin Stocker now batting right-handed will face Spoljaric. Schilling is out in the on-deck circle. Low, a ball. Stocker, a .224 hitter right-handed at left-handed rather, .250 right-handed. Has singled, a bunt single, and a walk. The 1-0 is coming from Spoljaric. That hit him on the front foot. Yep. Brunya moved up. And Jefferies is still running as he is at third base, but the signal came from Jerry Crawford that that's a hit batsman, and that will end the night for Curt Schilling. As soon as the bases became loaded, Schilling turned and headed back to the dugout.
And Crawford couldn't tell right away if the ball hit Stocker or not. Actually appealed to Mark Hirschbeck down at first base to say, did you see if it hit him or not? Hirschbeck immediately said yes it did as he pointed with both hands in toward the plate. So Kevin Stocker goes down to first base. Of course, the ball is dead as soon as it hits the hitter. No one of the runners can advance. Take a look. Spoljaric again trying to come inside, this time right off of the big toe of Kevin Stocker on his front foot. Right here, Stocker plants that front foot and cannot quite get it out of the way by the time that ball gets him. Of course, as soon as the ball hits the batter, the ball is dead. All the runners have to return to where they were. So now the Phillies with the bases loaded. Got Brogna at third. Lieberthal now down at second. Stalker at first, as Paul Quantrill gets up and starts throwing in the Blue Jays bullpen.
That's the first time all year Stalker's been hit by a pitch. Spradlin and Harris up in the Phillies. But I'm sorry, that's Wayne Gomes, not Reggie Harris, number 61. As Jordan comes on, bases loaded, 2 outs. It's 1-0. If you can guess along with Francona, should the Phillies tie or take the lead, you'd likely see Spradlin. If they're still down a run, it might be the major league debut of Wayne Gomes. Fouled back, good hack from Jordan. Just a tiny bit under it. Francona's been trying to get more at-bats for Jordan, trying to keep him effective. This is his 20th pinch hitting appearance. Overall hitting at .237 with 3 home runs. Way off. It's 2-1. You have Rico Brogna at third base. Mike Lieberthal at second. Stalker at first. Brogna is still the responsibility of that man, Woody Williams. And a 2-1 count on Kevin Jordan. Foul back again. The crowd gets into it. A 2-2 coming for Jordan. Tapper in front of the plate, and Spoljaric goes to first, and the Blue Jays are out of it. Phillies get the proximity run, but leave them loaded. Wayne Gomes is next. So the longtime ace, a stopper of the Milwaukee Brewers, Dan Plesac, checks into the ball game with the bases loaded. And 1 man out. As you look at the numbers for Plesac, the last time he pitched, he came in against Seattle with the bases loaded and 1 out, threw 1 pitch, and got a ground ball double play. And that's the exact situation he finds himself in right now. Bases loaded, 1 out, and he'll face the left-hand hitting Rico Brogna.
Mentioned Plesac now goes back tied with Quantrill for the club lead. Plesac, a hard thrower, throws the ball 92, 94 miles an hour. Got a good sharp slider. Saw him last when he pitched with the Pittsburgh Pirates. In fact, he was part of that package. It went from Pittsburgh to Toronto. He went to Toronto Blue Jays along with Carlos Garcia, the second baseman, and Orlando Merced, the right fielder tonight. So 3 former Pirates in the ball game right now, and the Phillies looking for a way to get Scott Rowland home with the tying run and hopefully more.
8 of 13 inherited runners have been stranded, or 62%. Is Cito Gaston running himself into a possible situation here as he's gone to 3 bullpenners already?
Yeah, we mentioned that, you know, the Blue Jays with only 5 relievers in their bullpen here in the 7th inning. He's into his 3rd reliever in Dan Plesac. So yes, indeed, if this game ends up tied and goes, you know, well beyond 9 innings, or even if it gets down toward the bottom of 9 innings, you know, he's going to have to be a little careful from here on out how many bullpen moves he makes. Again, the American League managers not used to having to conserve your bullpen and be conscious of that situation, because you normally only make changes when you want to.
And there's action down in that bullpen again. Here's Rico Brogna. Bases loaded, facing Plesac. You saw he's 1 for 2 against him. Swinging, fouls upper deck. That is Mike Timlin.
Blue Jays with just Timlin and Marty Jansen left in their bullpen, a pair of right-handers. So if indeed Plesac comes out of the game, Terry Francona doesn't have to worry about any more left-handed relievers from Cito Gaston the rest of the evening.
And Jansen's only been in the big leagues a couple of weeks. 0-1 pitch to Brogna. Lays off. It's 1-1. Well, according to my information, the last time he pitched, he got a double play ground ball with the first pitch he threw to Seattle in a bases loaded 1-out situation. But the official notes that we have say he's 0 of 20. Swing and a miss. Good pitch. You would figure Plesac to have some effective weaponry for Rico Brogna, Teague.
Yeah, well, he's got that slider, and that's what we just saw right there. That slider, that hard slider that he throws down and away. And Plesac has shown us over the years that he has the ability to keep that slider on the outside part of the plate. Also will run the fastball in on the left-hander's hands, which again just opens up the outside part of the plate. So he's a tough customer for any left-handed hitter that goes up there.
Rico wants to make contact. He's got the tying run 90 feet away. Everything's been away. Now it's 2-2. It's 2-2. Bases are loaded. Game on the line, bottom 7. In our first interleague ball game, Plesac's stretch and pitch. Just missed. Now the string's been run all the way out.
Tough pitch to take right here as Plesac throws that breaking ball just down and just off the outside corner. So we have run it full again. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Bases loaded. Plesac and Brogna.
He went. Strike 3 called. Strike 3 called by the umpire. Strike 3 swinging. Jerry Crawford with a no doubt about it 3rd strike signal, even though Rico was trying to run up the first base line. And it will be left to Greg Jeffries.
We'll take a look right here. Jerry Crawford says he doesn't need any help on this. Ball well out of the strike zone as Brogna tries to check his swing. Crawford says, no, you did not. We'll take a look from the third base camera angle, get a pretty good idea. Boy, that's close. That is real close. But Jerry Crawford said he saw the play, did not need any help from his third base umpire, Rich Rieker. Made the call himself.
Plesac started away on Brogna and stayed away on Brogna.
And stayed with the breaking ball even at 3-2.
So Greg Jeffries batting right-handed against Plesac. Down and in. Obviously a walk would tie it. Jeffries with a pair of slams in his career. Has an RBI single to account for the Phillies' lone run thus far.
We'll take a single right now. Forget the slam.
Ripped. Base hit. Morandini scores. It's juggled in left field by Carter, and Dalton will score. 2-run base hit by Greg Jeffries. Bills lead it 3-2. Jeffries takes second on the throw as Rolen winds up at third base.
Take a look right here. The single you're looking for, the single you get. That fastball down and in. Jeffries just past Gonzalez, the shortstop, into left field. Carter comes in getting ready to make the throw to the plate and has the ball kick off of his glove. That eliminates any chance he has of throwing Dalton out at the plate and allows Rolen to go over to third base, and Greg Jeffries make a turn at first base. Aha, got away. I'm taking an extra 90. I'm going to get in scoring position. So scored out a single for Jeffries, an error on the left fielder, Joe Carter, and the Phillies take the lead 3-2 in the ballgame.
That is 2 RBIs, though, correct?
That is 2 RBIs. That is correct.
Lieberthal swinging and rips it foul. Left field side. So it's Rolen advancing to third on the Carter juggle that calls the error. And Jeffries runs behind Rolen as the throw went into third. And now Greg Jeffries has knocked in all 3 runs. Curt Schilling is off the hook. And Wayne Gomes is now the Phillies pitcher of record. Off-speed pitch hit high to center field. NIXON will track it down. But Greg Jeffries, a clutch 2-out, 2-run single, has put the Phillies on top through 7. It's 3-2. 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, and now 3 outs away from winning their interleague opener and making Wayne Gomes a winner in his major league debut.
Ricky Bottalico on now to try to finish the Blue Jays off here in the 9th inning. He's going to face Sean Green, the pinch hitter for Alex Gonzalez, to lead off the inning. Green hitting .232 on the season, 0 for 8 as a pinch hitter. Green, an outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays.
He's got some pop, 4 home runs in 99 at-bats. Rolen looking up, but there won't be room. We've talked before, Teague, as a longtime closer, the difference from Bottalico's mentality taking the mound after having pitched in the 8th. I know you were kidding with him. Why don't you go back there and take the long walk from the bullpen?
Yeah, very seldom does a closer, actually approach the mound from the dugout. Normally it's a 1-inning situation. You're used to coming in from the bullpen. Of course, once you're in the ball game, you take the shorter walk from the dugout to the mound. He keeps making pitches like that. Doesn't matter which direction he's coming from.
Ruben Sierra, the switch hitter, waits on deck to hit for Garcia. Terrific 0-1 slider from Bottalico. They're going to go high. Fastball struck him out. We can get a look at that. See the way Lieberthal set that target chest high with that glove wide open.
Yeah, they want this pitch up and out of the strike zone. Levy saying, get it up here, get it up here. Make sure you get it up right there. Perfect. Right between the belt and the letters. Ricky throws that fastball by Sean Green, retires him for the first out of the inning. Now Ruben Sierra comes to the plate. Sierra, normally the DH for the Toronto Blue Jays. Actually started the season with the Cincinnati Reds, was released by them, signed by the Blue Jays, played a few games in Syracuse before being recalled by the Blue Jays to take over the DH role.
Switch hitter, hitting .213 overall, .241 from the left side. His only home run is as a left-handed hitter.
We know Sierra from the past has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Good power hitter, so important that Green was retired. Again, the extra run makes it a situation where Sierra is not the tying run in this ball game.
He's a leg lifter. He raises up that front leg, plants, so generally vulnerable to off-speed pitches in terms of the timing. And Robert Perez on deck, as Cito Gaston has gone through almost his entire bullpen and now almost his entire bench. Tilson Brito, Charlie O'Brien, Jacob Brumfield still available.
3 balls and 1 strike now on Sierra. Larry, you mentioned that big leg kick that Sierra has. It's not so much when he picks it up or how high he picks it up. It's when he gets it back down to the ground. That's the timing mechanism.
Well, amplify that for me.
You pick your leg up and you put it back down. The idea is to time the pitcher so that it comes down just like a normal stride would, and just get a little bit more momentum going into the pitch. Of course, you mentioned the off-speed pitches. If you get that foot down and then have to kind of hesitate for a second, then obviously the timing is off.
There's nothing left. He steps out as Bo is about to break his hands.
It's kind of a gambling mechanism a little bit for guys that are big power hitters that don't care about being fooled every once in a while.
Bottalico cranked it up 96 miles an hour. But as that leg comes up, those hands start moving. It's always puzzled me how well some people hit with that style. Blow him away, Bottalico with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So he has struck out the first 2 he's faced.
Yeah, first 2 he's faced here in the 9th. All 3 hitters that he's faced have gone down on strikes. This is just plain old power baseball right here. We're talking about good old country hardball. Here it is, hit it if you can. 3-2. Ruben Sierra comes up empty on that big swing. So 1 more mile to go for Ricky Bottalico.
Strike call. Well, it's obviously been a very difficult first couple of months for the Phillies, but this has been one of the more entertaining ball games they've been involved in. And a clutch Greg Jefferies base hit has put them ahead. And now they're 1 strike away. The crowd will rise up
And this is the moment that Mickey Bottalico lives for. Long drive to deep left field. That is a monster. To the 400 level. Home run for Perez. And how huge that insurance run looks right now. Take a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Hit it if you can, and if you can, it's going to fly.
And not quite the same situation as a 3-2 count, but Bottalico 0-2 decided to challenge Perez with that high fastball, and I'll tell you what, Robert Perez got every bit of this one. So Lieberthal again wants the ball up. Ricky gets this one just about belt high, not quite as high as the last one. Not a bad pitch, but, well, I'll tell you what, Perez generated some kind of bat speed right there. He knew it as soon as it came off of his bat. Just into that box right below the upper deck. Ricky looking for a new ball and talking to himself. Not real happy with that one.
So Otis Nixon.
As we mentioned, though, that insurance run by the Phillies that they got in the bottom of the 8th is huge, because that is exactly the situation you wanted to eliminate. One swing of the bat tying the ball game.
Third major league home run for Perez, first of the season. And hit one a year ago. Has never hit more than a dozen in the minor leagues. That was a shot. Morandini will charge, and the Phillies will win. Bottalico faced one more batter than he might have liked to, but got it done. You're watching Phillies baseball on Sports Channel. And the first ever interleague regular season ball game at Veterans Stadium belongs to the Phillies. Back in a moment.